Oh, I'll give up on that. Warning, this video contains a photographer that is extremely frustrated with a new lens. Please wait till the very end of the video before you make a conclusion about the lens. I'll leave you to it. Yeah, the focusing. It's having a bit of trouble focusing. I'm at Hadley Common. Cost me £6.50 parking. Didn't expect that. Anyway, I'm out today with the Canon RF35 macro. Although it's not a true macro, I don't think, because it's not one-to-one magnification. But we'll see how we get on. That's the plan today. I'll try and keep that lens on, see what I can get with it. So we'll just get on with it. I found a tree with some pine cone looking things among the spiky leaves. I have my camera set to aperture priority and a fast shutter speed as I am hand holding the camera. I set the ISO to auto. My aperture is wide open at 1.8. This may be why I have issues later on. I focused on a pine cone and allowed the foreground and background to blur. Well, that was my goal anyway. I got a few shots, then slowly realised the focus was hard to set. I thought it was me, but later on, I felt it was the lens. I decided to walk further down to see if I could get or find more shots. I paid £6.60 for parking after all. The first photo session had me thinking, and I walked away with a little feeling of disappointment. I spotted a dead log with some brown fungi growing on it. I should have moved my aperture from 1.8 to f4 to grab more focus, but it never came to mind for some reason. I took a few shots, but I was not feeling it. Even when taking the photo, I was looking around for a new shot elsewhere. So far I was not very impressed with the lens. I kept having focus issues. And this was happening a lot more. I decided to move on again, and I came across this bush. Just a normal privet bush really, but it had this little growth in the middle of the in the leaf stems, which I thought would make a good focal point, and a nice green blurry sort of round, you know, blurry into it sort of thing. But I was having issues with the focus again, and I'm wondering if it was because I was at such a high aperture of 1.8. Maybe I should have changed my aperture. I don't know why I didn't try that. My mind was just not in the game. I don't know why. I think it was because of the focus that was throwing me off my game. Anyway, I snapped a few pictures here before moving on. These hanging things attracted me, and I thought I'd give it a go to take a few shots, but I've just found it so frustrating with the focusing. The camera just wouldn't focus on them at all. Either I was too close and breaking the focus distance, or what, I have no idea. But I found the whole thing frustrating. Can't get the focus, it's not focusing. I did attempt to take a few pictures, but these snaps that were taken were more lucky shots out of frustration. I tried moving the camera forward and backwards because I thought maybe I was focusing too close. I'm not sure what the issue was. It's early days for a review of the lens. It could be something I'm doing. I don't know. But I found the whole thing very frustrating. And then I finally gave up. So I had a bit of trouble focusing. So I just packed up and made my way down to Hadley Wood. I arrived at Hadley Wood and thought I might have better luck here. So I ventured off into the woods as I normally do. Difference being on this day, it was so muddy. Everywhere was just thick with mud, because all we've had in the UK almost every single day is rain. And this is one of the reasons I came out today, because we had a dry spell, but it was just so muddy. I spent some time walking around looking for a composition for a semi-macro lens and came across these little like nettles. They were quite small and low down to the floor. I tried to take some pictures, so I'll put one of them up here, but as you can see my aperture was still at 1.8, way too narrow or too high for this shot, giving me just a thin layer of sharpness. But I still had the same issue of focusing. The lens just would not focus. It was extremely frustrating, and I even put my hand down there to see if it would focus, and it still wouldn't focus. It got to a point where, because I was low down to the floor without a tripod, I couldn't breathe, I was panting. I eventually gave up because it started to rain as well, and I'd basically had enough at this point. I didn't enjoy the experience at all. Whoa. Oh, it's really pouring down now. This is the Canon 35 macro. As you can see, it's not a true macro, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, but it does gloat half the size of a image. And as you can see at the bottom there, it says the closest focusing distance is 0.17 of a meter. If you convert that into inches, that's around about 6.5 inches to 7 inches, say, at the furthest, which is still quite close to the lens. And I was moving the lens forward and backwards to see if I could get that focus lock, and it just wasn't happening. My conclusion is that I was either focusing too close to the subject, and thus it wasn't requiring focus lock, or something was wrong with the lens. It's more likely that I was getting too close to the subject for the focus to lock. That, and it was cold, wet, and a very miserable day, and paying that amount of money for parking must have thrown me off. That's the only thing I can think of. So the whole photo shoot was probably one of my worst photo shoots I've done, and walked away totally dissatisfied with the day out. And sometimes that happens, so I put that down to having a bad day, and worth sharing to show that people have bad days. I will go out again with the lens and focus more on focusing and my focusing distance to see if that makes a better difference, and hopefully my mind and my brain will be in gear, and I'll pay more attention to the aperture as well as the focus, and maybe then I can give that lens a good go. Anyway, please remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for getting this far in the video. Talk again soon.